Okay, so now next thing we could do could be to start using interactions. So for example, what we could do is use the axe to open a box, but not just simply open a box with the collider. What I want to show you is the interaction from the trackers, because you have a button on the tracker. You can also have input and output. You have the guns that allows you to have multiple buttons. So what could be nice is to show you how to use those events in Unity to be able to open stuff to create some interactions. So what we're gonna do is what we could do is do something like when the axe collides one of those box, so one of those box, we could open the box, but not just on collision, when the user press the red button on the tag, the pairing button actually. So we could detect for a collision. When the collision happens, listen for the button event to see if the user is pressing the button, or if it is already pressed, maybe even. So let's have a look at the box and how it is currently handled. So there is the crate script. Oopsie. Let's open it. So those scripts, they come from the low poly asset that we downloaded earlier. So apparently it does check on interact, check if it should open it or close it. Open, M is open. So okay, so it calls the animator to open or close the box. So maybe we could like open on press and close on release or something like that. So let's create our own crate script, because I don't want to use what's been already done for the low poly prefab. So in the games we have the scripts folder, so let's create something like a script called crate opener, and that script we want to apply it on, I think, on the crate. Yeah, that looks like a good idea. Yeah, let's apply it on the crate. If Unity wants to. Okay, so let's add this here. Let's open the script. And okay, just go back there. And let's, okay, no, I have not added it yet. Let's add it. Losing prefab, okay, don't care. And let's remove this script, because we don't want to use that one. Okay, so we have the crate opener. Let's check what's inside. Okay, start update. So we're going to use the colliders. Okay, so Unity collision detection. I think that we're going to need to put some colliders on the player's axe. Controller axe box is trigger. Oh yeah, we can use the trigger very simply. Okay, so trigger detection. I think it's a on trigger enter. Yeah, perfect. So alright, on trigger enter. We have an example just right there. On trigger enter, and maybe we have an on trigger exit. Okay, so let's just copy paste that into our script. So on trigger enter, that I don't know what it does. Okay, that the on trigger stay we don't need, and on trigger exit. Okay, so what we want to do on trigger enter is that we want to check that the game object that we collided with is the axe. So let's maybe check if collider, so if collider is called other, let's call it collider. It seems more logical. So if collider dot game object dot name, alright, equals axe. You know what, we're gonna rename it. We're gonna rename it player axe. Technically in a multiplayer game we should make sure that this is the own player's axe and stuff like that, but we're gonna keep it easy right for the moment. Okay, so we check if there is a player acts, and if the game object contains oops, game object, come on, we want to check that the game object contains the script, so maybe I have some get component, VR tracker follow tag, VRT follow, oh yeah, follow tag. So here we need to add a using VR tracker dot, I think it's player. Oopsie, there is 2L. Okay, so VRT follow tags. Okay, because this is part of the player namespace. So we need to make sure that nVRT follow tag is not null. And if this is the case, let's oh, and that is wrong. So let's just add a debug log. Okay, so it's trigger create, and let's do the same on the exit. Trigger create out, and here in. Okay, so that's the first part. Then let's have a look at the VRT follow tag. If we find the follow tag, can we grab the tracker it is linked to? Yes, no. Okay, tag to follow. Alright, so if we manage to get the follow tag script, we can get the tag. And this is important because we want to access a specific function in VRT tag. We want to access some actions, which are just right there. Those are actions for the gun, but those are actions that are directly on the tracker. So on the V2 trackers, we had also just two IO actually, one for the trigger button and one for the pairing button. On the V3, we have still the trigger button, but it is harder to access, so we're going to use currently just the red button. So we have two actions, on red button down, on red button up. So what we want to do in the create opener is to get that game object, and well, we want to save somewhere the tag, VRT tag. No, just VRT tag. Oh, maybe I also need to use using VRTracker.manager. Okay, so VRT tag controller, because this is the tag that we use as a controller. And let's set tag controller equals collider.vrtfollowtag.tag to follow. That seems good. And then what we're going to do is create a function that we call that. So this is here. Okay, so we're going to create a function. So public void open crate. Alright, and let's create one that is called close crate. Okay, so open is open. So one is true and the other is false, so I need to make sure we have the right one. Is open. If is open is false, we want to open it. Okay, so that seems good. So open crate, close crate, and then so the tag controller dot red button, red on red button down plus equal. So we add this function to the action, and that means that when the red button will be pressed, this function is also going to be called. So this doesn't work, I don't know why. Okay, it works now. So, and we can set on red button up to close crate. And what we want to do also, when the trigger, when we exit the collider, we want to remove those functions, because otherwise it can call functions that are not there anymore, and we don't want those kind of errors. So, alright, I think we have to try that now. Okay, so I had to go through quite a few changes to make this work. Most of them were actually quite simple, but I had forgot about them. So first, for the rigid body and the trigger, well, for the trigger it did not work because I had forgot to add a rigid body to my axe. So I've put a rigid body on it. I set it to kinematic because I don't want to have any impact on the physics. The collider is set to trigger. And on the box, yeah, there is also the collider that is set to trigger, though I don't think that we need to have that set to trigger on the axe. Then the next things that I changed is that I've added actually a second function. So there is the open crate and close crate, and the on close and on open. The reason why I've done that is because the on-red button and the on-red button up and down, they are called not in the main thread, because those actions, they come from the network and it runs on another thread. And the problem when I try to just link this action directly to the open crate or close crate is that it called an animator. An animator can only be run on the main thread. So what I've done is that I'm calling the onOpenCrate from the network thread. What this function does is that it's calling, it is a script that is actually in the plugin, which is the main thread dispatcher. So what it will do is that it will call the function in arguments on the main thread. So we are on the network thread, we call this function, and it is going to call this function on the main thread. So then it calls my animator on the main thread, and I can see the animation. So that's what I've done also for closing the crate. So now let's go through. Let's go through the game. Oh, sorry, I should start the pairing scene first. Sometimes I forget it. Okay, so let's run it, and you will see. So I have the tracker in my head. In my hand, I will press the red button. Okay, so let's show it like that. So here, I don't know if there is any debug. I don't think so. Oh yes, it shows when the collision enters. So here the collision enters. So you can see that the collision is okay. And here I press the red button. It opens a crate. Now if I release, it will close it. So if I open, I move away, and I release, it doesn't do anything. I have to get back inside the crate, open and release. But it shows you a very easy way to interact with the tracker. If you want, I can show you closer. How I do that. So alright, let's put it inside, open, release, open and release. Very simple. Okay, I hope you like this little introduction to the interactions with the buttons in Unity, and well, we'll continue on this. Have a good day, cheers!